Daniel never thought his life would change because of a simple decision. To him, it was just about saving money. Rent had become too high, and living alone in the city was draining his pockets. When the university announced a new, shared living program for cultural exchange with alien students, Daniel signed up without much thought. He imagined it would be temporary, maybe even awkward, but manageable. He did not imagine it would shape his days in ways he could never forget. The day his new roommate arrived, Daniel stood by the doorway of the small apartment. He expected a creature strange, perhaps frightening, something out of the science fiction films he watched as a kid. Instead, what stepped through the door was quiet, graceful and almost fragile in the way she moved. Her name was Sira. She introduced herself softly, her words carrying a faint echo, as though two voices overlapped. Her eyes were large and pale, silver, glowing faintly under the sunlight filtering through the window. Her skin looked like polished stone, smooth and faintly shimmering, like marble lit from within. She wasn't human, not at all, and yet there was something in the way she bowed her head politely that felt very familiar. Daniel tried to hide his nervousness. Welcome. I'm Daniel. That's your room over there. Sira nodded. Thank you. I will not cause trouble. Her voice was calm, almost too calm, like she had practiced the line many times. At first, their life together was strange. She didn't eat the food he cooked. She had her own small containers filled with thick glowing liquid from her world. She didn't sleep on the bed either. She created a kind of cocoon on the floor of her room, a glowing nest of soft fibers she had brought with her. Daniel would sometimes glance at the light seeping under her door at night and wonder if she ever felt comfortable here. They spoke very little those first weeks. Daniel didn't want to say the wrong thing. Sira didn't want to intrude. The apartment felt quiet, almost too quiet. But slowly that silence began to shift. It started with little things. One evening, Daniel was cooking pasta, and Sira appeared in the doorway. She didn't eat, but she sat down at the table and watched. When he asked why, she answered simply, "I like the sound of boiling water. It reminds me of rivers." Another night, Daniel struggled with a math assignment. He sighed in frustration, rubbing his forehead. To his surprise, Sira walked over, her pale eyes scanning his notes. "You are adding wrong," she said softly. She took the pencil and with swift movements solved the problem. Then she handed it back, her gaze lowered as if she had done something wrong. "Thanks," Daniel said, smiling for the first time in front of her. "You're a genius." Sira blinked, and for a brief moment her lips curved in what might have been the smallest smile. As days turned into weeks, Daniel began to notice little habits about her. She hummed strange tunes when she thought he wasn't listening, soft melodies that made the air feel alive. She stood at the window often, staring at the sky, as if searching for something beyond it. And whenever he mentioned family or friends, her expression grew distant, almost sad. One stormy night, the city was hit with heavy rain and thunder. The power went out, plunging their apartment into darkness. Daniel was about to light a candle when he heard a low, vibrating sound. He found Sira curled against the wall, her body trembling, her eyes wide with terror. Hey, it's just thunder," Daniel whispered, sitting beside her. "No," she gasped. "Skyfire. It destroyed my people's cities. It burns without warning." Her fear wasn't just fear of weather. It was memory, heavy and painful. Daniel stayed with her until the storm passed, candles flickering between them. In that moment, he realized something. Beneath her strange appearance, beneath the alien skin and glowing eyes, Sira was just like him. She carried scars. She carried loneliness. From that night, something changed between them. The apartment no longer felt like two strangers sharing walls. It began to feel like two lives slowly weaving together. Daniel didn't know where it would lead, but deep inside, he felt this was only the beginning of something far greater than he had ever expected. Life slowly settled into a rhythm for Daniel and Sira. The apartment, once quiet and tense, began to feel alive in small, subtle ways. Daniel learned that Sierra liked to arrange things carefully. Her glowing containers of food lined up neatly on the counter, her soft fibers in her cocoon always perfectly layered. It reminded him of how humans have little habits, small rituals, to make life feel safe. At first, Daniel thought he was learning about her, but soon he realized she was learning about him too. She observed how he moved, how he cooked, how he studied. Sometimes she would tilt her head slightly as if she were trying to understand not just his actions but the emotions behind them. And that quiet curiosity warmed him in ways he had never expected. One evening, Daniel came home exhausted. He had spent hours in the lab, working on a complicated engineering project, and his mind was buzzing with numbers and equations. He sighed heavily and dropped his backpack by the door. To his surprise, Sierra was sitting at the kitchen table, a soft glowing light emanating from her skin, even in the dim apartment light. "You look tired," she said softly, her voice carrying a strange musical echo. "I am," Daniel replied, rubbing his eyes. "It's been a long day. The project, I don't think I'll ever finish it." Sierra didn't speak for a moment, then she reached out, not touching him, but hovering her hand near his notebook. "May I?" she asked, with careful, precise movements. She rearranged some of his diagrams and solved a small section he had been struggling with. It was not just skill, it was grace, a quiet, unspoken understanding. Daniel looked at her in awe. You made it so simple." Sierra tilted her head, her silver eyes reflecting the soft light. "It was always simple. You only needed clarity." From that moment, a bond formed, not just as roommates, but as companions navigating a world that often didn't understand either of them. Daniel began to talk to her about small things, the campus, his friends, his family back home. Sierra listened carefully, sometimes asking questions, sometimes simply humming. Her humming was like wind passing through crystal, soft and haunting. And Daniel found himself calming down simply by hearing it. One night, the bond deepened further. A thunderstorm rolled through the city, shaking the windows and rattling the apartment. Daniel watched Sierra freeze, her body trembling as low vibrations ran through her frame. She pressed herself against the wall, panic in her glowing eyes. He knelt beside her, careful not to touch, careful not to frighten her further. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm here, you're safe." Sierra's gaze met his, wide and fragile. "You do not understand," she said, her voice barely audible. "On my world, then skyfire comes without warning. It burns cities. It destroys lives. Her words faltered, but Daniel understood. The fear in her eyes was not just for the storm. It was memory, trauma, centuries of loss carried in her fragile body. He stayed with her through the storm, holding a candle to light the room, speaking softly, and when the storm finally passed, Sierra did something she had never done before. She leaned slightly against him. Not out of obligation, not out of need, but as a quiet gesture of trust. It was then Daniel realized the truth. She wasn't just an alien. She was a soul, scarred and delicate, trying to find connection in a world that feared difference, and she had chosen to trust him. The next day, things felt different. Sierra hummed more openly, lingered longer in the kitchen while he cooked, and even asked questions about his childhood. Daniel shared stories of his family, of his dog back home, and of small moments of human life that often went unnoticed. Sierra listened, fascinated by the simplicity of it all, her glowing eyes brightening slightly with each story. Daniel smiled quietly to himself. He realized that he was not only learning about her world, he was also learning about his own capacity for empathy, patience, and friendship. Sierra's presence, so quiet and alien at first, had begun to teach him the beauty in small connections, the importance of understanding, and the strength found in trust. By the end of the week, Daniel found himself looking forward to her presence, to her quiet humming, and even to the way her eyes reflected the sunlight in the mornings. Their apartment, once a temporary shelter, had become a small sanctuary of shared understanding and quiet companionship. Daniel didn't know what the future would hold, but he knew one thing clearly. Sira had changed his life, and in her presence, he had found a connection deeper than anything he had experienced before, and somehow he knew this bond. The fragile, glowing, quiet bond was only the beginning of something far greater than either of them could yet imagine. It happened on a quiet Wednesday evening. Daniel had finished classes early and was looking forward to a rare moment of peace in the apartment. He kicked off his shoes at the door, expecting the familiar quiet hum of their shared space. Instead, he heard the soft trickle of water coming from the bathroom. At first, he thought it was Sira using her glowing containers for a drink, but the sound was different. Continuous, smooth, almost musical. He paused in the hallway, curious, and realized the bathroom door was slightly ajar. Daniel's curiosity got the better of him. He took a step closer, then another. He didn't intend to peek, but as he reached for the doorknob, the door creaked, swinging open just a little more. And that's when he saw her. Sira was bathing. Not in the way humans bathed, but in a strange, mesmerizing way unique to her species. The outer layer of her skin, the polished, stone-like covering, was shedding in soft, glimmering sheets that dissolved into the water. Beneath it, her true form glowed faintly, almost ethereal. She was tall and slender, with delicate curves that seemed sculpted by light itself. Her skin was luminous, translucent in places, and her hair flowed like liquid silver, floating gently around her shoulders. The ridges along her back shimmered, revealing an intricate pattern that looked alive. Daniel froze. He could not believe what he was seeing. It was not frightening, nor ugly. It was stunning, beyond anything he could have imagined. For a moment he was rooted to the spot, staring at the beauty and fragility before him. Then Sira noticed him. Her wide silver eyes locked onto his, and the glow around her dimmed slightly as if she were trying to retreat into herself. Panic flashed across her face, a mixture of fear and shame. She wrapped the glowing fibers of her bath around her, creating a modesty barrier. You saw," she whispered, her voice trembling, breaking the quiet hum of the water. "You were not supposed to see this." Daniel's heart raced. He wanted to apologize, to turn away, but words failed him. I didn't mean to. I just..." Sira shook her head, wrapping herself tighter. Humans do not like the truth of my kind. Outside our shells, we are considered weak, incomplete, fragile. And now you've seen it. Will you leave? Will you send me away?" Her words struck him like a sudden storm. Leave? Send her away? How could he ever think that? "No," Daniel said firmly, stepping closer but stopping at the edge of the doorway. "I'm not leaving. I'm not sending you away. He paused, struggling to find words. "You're incredible. You're beautiful. And you don't have to hide from me." Sira's eyes, glowing softly in the dim bathroom light, flickered with disbelief. She shook her head slowly. "You cannot mean that. Humans are cruel. They see what they do not understand and call it ugly, dangerous, wrong. You will not see me the same way tomorrow." Daniel stepped back and softened his voice. "No. I see you as you are. Not your shell. Not what anyone says. You're Sira. That's all that matters." For a long moment she said nothing. The water dripped around them, the faint sound of her skin shedding into the bath filling the room. Then she slowly lowered, the glowing fibers revealing herself a little more, but still cautious, still trembling. Daniel's heart pounded, not in shock but in awe. This was Sira, the roommate he had come to know, the alien girl who hummed softly while studying, who shared small moments with him, who had revealed her fear during the storm. And now, he saw her fully, not as a creature to fear, not as a being to judge, but as a soul, luminous and delicate, asking only to be accepted. He knew in that moment that their bond had changed, It could never return to the way it was. Something deeper had begun, something raw and human and honest. Sierra, finally sensing his sincerity, allowed herself to relax slightly. The trembling lessened, the panic faded just enough for her to meet his gaze with something like hope, a fragile, glimmering hope. Daniel realized then that fear was only part of her story. Beauty, strength, vulnerability, and trust were all there too. And for the first time he understood. Some truths were not meant to be hidden, and some bonds were worth more than comfort or convention. Even in that small apartment in the quiet evening, Daniel felt the weight of a new reality. One that was shocking, beautiful, and life-changing. The night after the bathroom incident, the apartment felt heavy. The faint glow from Sierra's cocoon no longer lit the room with the soft, comforting shimmer it usually did. Instead, it pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat of someone afraid. Daniel sat on the couch staring at the floor, replaying the image of her glowing form in his mind. He knew he had done nothing wrong, yet guilt gnawed at him. Sierra, meanwhile, avoided him. She remained in her room, her door firmly closed, her movements quiet and careful. When she spoke, her voice was clipped, formal, almost cold. It was as if the small bond they had built was now covered by an invisible wall. Daniel tried to bridge it. He brought her food, placed it gently outside her door, and left a note. I respect you. I am not afraid of you. I am your friend. Hours passed, and she did not respond. Daniel felt a knot in his stomach, a mix of worry and helplessness. He wanted to reach out, to tell her again that he saw her not as a fragile alien but as someone strong and beautiful. But every knock on her door was met with silence. The next day, at the university, Daniel noticed the whispers. Students who had caught glimpses of Sierra passing in the hallway stared openly. Some even pointed. Rumors spread quickly. That alien girl, her skin, it glows, right? And her roommate? He lives with her? Others laughed nervously, unsure of how to react. Daniel's chest tightened. He had feared this moment, though he didn't want to admit it. Sierra's world was fragile here, and humanity could be cruel in ways he had not yet experienced. But he could not let her face it alone. That evening, he found her sitting in her cocoon, her glowing fibers barely covering her body, her eyes wide and distant. Sierra, he said softly, you don't have to hide because of them. She shook her head, the glow around her dimming further. They will not understand. You will not see me the same way tomorrow. Humans, they fear what they cannot name. And I am not human. Daniel stepped closer, careful to give her space but firm in his words. I already see you, Sierra, all of you, and nothing has changed. Not for me. Not ever. She looked at him, and for the first time, he saw the fear behind her beauty, the fear of rejection, of loneliness, of being seen as weak. You are suffering because of me, she whispered. I should leave. I should go back to the dormitories. You would be better off without me. No, Daniel said immediately, shaking his head. You're wrong. I'm not suffering because of you. I'm suffering because people are too small-minded to see what's right in front of them. You don't leave. Not because of them, not because of fear. You stay because you deserve to. For a long while, Sierra said nothing. Her body glowed faintly, almost like a candle flickering in the wind. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I have lived in hiding most of my life. My kind taught me to hide, to survive, to protect ourselves from those who cannot accept difference. You make me feel exposed. Daniel's heart ached. He knelt slightly, keeping his voice calm and steady. Being exposed doesn't mean being weak. It means trusting someone. It means letting someone see the truth and hoping they will stay. And I'm staying, Sierra. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in days, a soft vibration passed through her body. Not fear, but uncertainty turning into cautious hope. She lowered her glowing fibers slightly, revealing more of herself, though still not fully. Her eyes met his, wide, and shimmering like twin stars, uncertain if they should shine or hide. She started, then paused, her voice trembling. Perhaps not all humans are cruel. Daniel smiled softly. Not all. Some of us can see beauty in the strange, strength in the fragile, and truth in what others refuse to notice. You've taught me that, Sira. Her glow brightened slightly, and she allowed herself to lean back against the wall, no longer trembling as fiercely. In that quiet apartment, two very different beings sat together, both vulnerable, both scared, but learning, slowly, to trust one another. The fear had not vanished. The world outside could still be cruel, the whispers still sharp, and the rumors still cruel. But inside that apartment, Daniel and Sira began to understand that courage wasn't about fighting everything at once. It was about holding onto someone's hand, or even just presence, and standing together despite fear. And that night, as the city hummed beyond their windows, Daniel knew that the bond they had was stronger than fear itself. The days after the bathroom incident brought a new kind of tension. Daniel noticed the way people stared, whispering as Sira walked across campus. Some students pointed, others whispered cruel jokes, and a few even took pictures, thinking it was some kind of prank. The alien girl he had come to trust, the one who shared quiet evenings and soft humming, now carried the weight of curiosity, fear, and judgment wherever she went. Sira felt it too. She moved with smaller, careful steps, keeping her glowing fibers tightly wrapped, avoiding eye contact whenever possible. The isolation she had feared now seemed real, and Daniel could see it in her luminous eyes. She was shrinking, under the pressure, retreating into herself, and it made his chest ache. He tried talking to her softly and patiently. Sira, you're stronger than you think. Don't let them make you small. She shook her head, her silver eyes dim. Humans do not understand, even you. You may see me differently soon. I bring danger, curiosity, shame. Perhaps I should leave before it is too late. Daniel felt a flash of anger, not at Sira, but at the world that treated her this way. No, you're not leaving. You're not dangerous. You're incredible. And anyone who cannot see that, it doesn't deserve your time, your trust, or your presence. You hear me? She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. You are suffering because of me. I never wanted this. I never wanted you to be dragged into their fear, their mockery. Daniel shook his head firmly. I'm not suffering because of you. I'm suffering because people are too small-minded to see what's right in front of them. You don't leave because of them. You stay because I believe in you. I believe in us. That night, whispers grew louder. A few students had gathered outside their building, muttering about the alien girl living with a human. One of them even posted on the university forum asking if Sira should be reported for safety reasons. Daniel discovered it while checking his phone, and a cold fury gripped him. The next morning, he went to Sira's room and knocked gently. We need to talk, he said. We can't let them scare you. You don't deserve this. She opened the door slowly, her body still slightly tense, her glowing fibers barely covering her. I cannot stop them. They will continue to stare, to whisper, to make me a spectacle. Perhaps it would be better if I left. You would be free of me. Daniel stepped into the room, careful to respect her space. No, Sira. I don't care what anyone says. I care about you. I care about us, and I am not letting anyone take that away from us. Her eyes glistened faintly, the fear still there but mingled now with uncertainty and hope. You really mean that? Even after what they said? Yes, he replied firmly. Even after everything. I know it's hard. I know people can be cruel, but you are not alone. I am with you, and we face this together. Sira's glow brightened slightly, the tension in her shoulders easing. She had lived her life hiding, always fearing rejection, always preparing for the world to call her weak. But Daniel's words, his unwavering stance, were different. They were not fear, judgment, or mockery. They were trust. They were acceptance. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to breathe, to feel a fraction of the relief that came from knowing someone truly stood by her. And in that quiet moment, Daniel realized something important. Their bond was not just friendship. It was courage, built not on the absence of fear, but on the choice to face it together. Yet the external world would not wait. Rumors continued, whispers persisted, and some students even tried to corner Sira, demanding to see her true form. Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The challenge was no longer just about trust. It was about standing together against a society that could not yet accept difference. He clenched his fists and made a silent promise to himself. No matter what happened, he would protect her. He would defend her. And he would prove that humanity could be more than judgment and fear. That night, as the city lights flickered outside their window, he looked at Sira and whispered softly, "I've got you, no matter what comes." And for the first time since the rumors began, Sira's glow shone steadily, strong enough to fill the room with warmth. It was a fragile light, yes, but it was alive. And it was theirs. It started as an ordinary afternoon on campus, but Daniel could feel the tension in the air as soon as he stepped outside. Whispers followed him like shadows, pointing fingers toward the science building where Sira had a class. He glanced at the courtyard, and there she was, standing alone, her glowing fibers wrapped tightly around her, her body radiating a soft, luminescent blue. A group of students had surrounded her, their voices cruel and mocking. "Show us your real skin. Are you really that weird?" one of them demanded. Another laughed, pointing at her delicate, glowing form. "I bet your roommate is crazy for living with you." Daniel's stomach twisted. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to rush forward, to stop them, to protect her. But he paused, taking a deep breath. He could not act recklessly. He had to be precise, strong, and fearless. He ran toward them, shouting her name. "Sira, leave her alone." The students turned, surprised, but they did not back down. One of them grabbed Sira's arm, trying to push her closer to the fountain in the courtyard. Fear flashed across her glowing eyes, her body vibrating slightly as panic rose. "Stop!" Daniel shouted, stepping between Sira and the group. "Do not touch her!" They laughed, mocking his anger. "Or what, you'll glow too?" Daniel's voice became firm, sharp, carrying an authority that surprised even him. "She is not a joke. She is not your entertainment. She is not dangerous. She is brave, intelligent, and more human in courage than any of you. You hide behind cruelty, but she hides because you cannot accept the truth." The courtyard fell silent, the words echoing across the stone paths. Sira's glow flickered, hesitant, but she did not retreat. She had always been cautious, always afraid of judgment. But in that moment, Daniel's words gave her a strength she had never felt before. The students stared at her now, really looked at her. Her glowing skin, the delicate ridges along her back, the shimmering silver hair. All of it was alien, yes, but beautiful, fascinating, and undeniably alive. Gasps filled the air as they stepped back. Some turned away, uncomfortable. Some simply stared, awe replacing mockery. Daniel's chest heaved as he continued, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Do you see her? Can you understand even a fraction of what she has endured? She has lived with fear, loneliness, and judgment for her entire life. And yet she trusts, she hopes, and she shares her life. And here you are, laughing at her because she is different. Shame on you." For a moment, it seemed like the world had stopped. Sira's glow brightened, steady and strong, no longer flickering. Her posture straightened, ridges along her back shining like silver light in the afternoon sun. She allowed herself to stand tall, not hiding, not apologizing, because Daniel had chosen to defend her. And in doing so, he had given her permission to accept herself fully. The students, realizing they could no longer intimidate her, began to drift away. Whispers faded, and the courtyard returned to a quiet hum of normal campus life. Sira turned to Daniel, her glowing eyes wide, reflecting gratitude and awe. You defended me, she whispered, her voice soft but trembling. Even when they saw everything, Daniel nodded, exhausted but resolute. I told you, Sira, you are not something to hide. Not from me. Not from anyone who matters. You are incredible. Never forget that. Sira's glow shifted to a soft, warm tone. For the first time, she allowed herself to truly exhale, to feel the relief and power of being accepted fully. Her fear was still there, lingering at the edges, but it no longer controlled her. That day, something changed, not just between them, but in Sira's perception of humanity. She had feared rejection, cruelty, and isolation, but Daniel had shown her another path, one where courage, trust, and compassion could shine brighter than fear and ignorance. As they walked back to their apartment together, Daniel could feel the bond between them strengthened. She leaned slightly toward him, a subtle gesture of trust and gratitude, and he understood. This was the moment their relationship transformed from fragile companionship into a true alliance. Two souls, different yet connected, facing a world that often feared the unknown. In that small victory, Daniel realized something profound. Sometimes humanity's best qualities were not shown in grand speeches or politics, but in simple acts of courage. Standing for someone, accepting them fully, defending them against ignorance. That was what made humans extraordinary. And Sira, glowing softly in his presence, seemed to understand it too. After the confrontation on campus, a quiet calm settled over their apartment. Sira moved differently now, not hiding her glow, not shrinking under fear, but walking with cautious confidence. Daniel noticed it immediately. Even the way she hummed while cooking or arranging her fibers seemed lighter, freer, as if the weight of constant fear had lifted slightly. For days, they settled into a rhythm. They cooked together, studied together, and even shared small moments of laughter that had been rare before. Daniel found himself watching her sometimes, marveling at how she carried herself with a grace he could hardly describe. There was something undeniably beautiful about her, beyond the glow and the alien features. Something in the strength she had learned to carry, the courage she had found in trust. Sira, too, began to open up more. She told Daniel about her homeworld, about the cities that had burned under the sky fire she had feared since childhood, about her family, and the loss she had endured. She spoke slowly, carefully, as if testing whether he could handle the truth. Daniel listened silently, without judgment. He understood more deeply than ever that her alien form was only part of her story. The real strength lay in her resilience, her emotions, and her trust in him.